Welcome back to Too Much Future, the show where we play through the Fallout games. Talk about them. I'm Cameron, and with me, as always, is...
Michael.
Oh, don't jump the gun on me. Cowpoke.
I'm just a lawless raider.
99% of the time, this would be where I would say, Michael, please recount what happened in Fallout. 4, specifically, because we played Fallout 1. We played Fallout 2. We played Fallout 3. We played Fallout New Vegas. And now we're playing Fallout 4. There's 60-some-odd episodes of that you can listen to. But I don't want to hear the summary again. I'm over it. Because this is our last Fallout 4 episode.
Yeah, and the main game really doesn't matter.
In terms of the DLC, no. I think there's a level requirement or a level ask. It doesn't provoke you. I believe that at any time, if you have the DLC installed, at any time you can go to Nuka World, which is what we're talking about today. But it doesn't prompt you with the radio station until level 30. So other than that, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, this is another... I think I did this with all of the DLCs in some way or another, actually, upon retrospect. I accidentally started this one while I was playing through the game normally, and then had to stop, because I, found the Nuka World Transit Center and, shot a bunch of people. I was like, this is interesting. What's going on here? Because I didn't really put together that Nuka World was a DLC, because I just, bought the game with all of the add-ons and it all installed, and I wasn't really paying attention to what they were. So I got to a certain point at the little starting area, and I was like, this seems like a whole new thing. And then I had to type it into the computer. I was like, computer, tell me, what is Nuka World? And it's like, that's an add-on. And I was like, oh, I should stop.
Excuse me, computer. What's Nuka World? What's that thing that Paul Rudd says? Tang?
Yes.
Whatever it's called.
Yeah, Tane.
Tane, yeah. I can get behind that. I can get used to that, whatever he says. That's funny. It's good stuff. So let's dig into it with an old... let's get a silly straw and put it right down the neck of this bottle, because this is Nuka World.
Nuka World. You see, they nuked the world, and now we're going to Nuka World.
Did you catch that there's a character in this DLC who actually says everything changed when the bombs fell?
No.
The magical ghoul,
oh,
I believe, is the one who says it.
I did not meet that guy.
Okay, well, I guess I'm curious about what you did in this DLC. But there is a magical ghoul, and he literally, in a line of dialogue to the player, says, everything changed when the bombs fell. And I thought, wait a minute. Did the people who made our theme song know that? But anyway. Give us the lead in, and presumably you went hog wild somewhere in the middle, so why don't you run down what this DLC was for you?
So how this starts is you find the Nuka World Transit Center, which is like a little launch point to go to Nuka World, which is a theme park based on Nuka Cola, the delicious cola drink from Fallout that everyone knows and loves. And I don't really remember what was going on when I first went there, because it was just filled with raiders, and I shot a whole bunch of them and they all died. And then I went into the little transit center, and I was like, oh, this is taking me somewhere. So you go into the transit center, and there's a dude lying there, and his name is Harvey. And you talk to him, and he's like, the raiders, they hurt me. The raiders just shot me. I'm dying. But they took my wife and kid or something. Pretty sure it's my wife and kid that they took. That's what I think I said. I don't know how this went for you, but it was very funny for me, because there are speech check options that you can do with him, where he's talking about how he's injured, and his family has been taken by the raiders. They put them on the train. They're gonna leave. Oh my God, someone please save them. And I'm just like, oh, do you want a stim pack? And he's like,
yeah.
No, my family, my poor family. No, really, do you want a stim?
It's going to take too long. It's going to take too long to give me a stim pack.
And I can just it like the speech checks escalate in difficulty, and I can just be like, "Are you sure you really don't want a stim pack? Here, take a stim pack." So there's the final one for me. It was like it was like red, right? So it was like a hard speech option. Is like me trying to forcibly apply a stim pack to him. Like, hold on a second here. And he like shoves you off and stands up, and he's like, "Okay, I'm not actually hurt."
Damn.
And he explains that he is working with the raiders who live in Nuka World, and he is like providing the bait to get regular people to go to Nuka World. And I can talk to him a little bit about why he's doing this, although it's not terribly clear. But ultimately, he's just like, yeah, whatever, like, go to Nuka World. Here's the password to turn on the power or whatever and start the little tram. So you go over and you do that, and there's like a fun little story where you can read through the security logs on the console here and find out that they had like Nuka World opened like a couple of years, like a decade or something before the war. And there was like a security office. Like there are all these like little incident reports, right? Someone shoved gum into the water fountain, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And there's like a security officer who's responding to all of these reports, and he's like, someone needs to kill these like I don't know. I don't want to say a swear and get us demonetized. But he's just like very clearly like
these nefarious kids, these meddling kids.
Yeah. So all of his like responses to all these like child acts of vandalism is like, we need to I'm going to like reprogram the protectrons. And then eventually,
so some sort of Nuka World, the Punisher.
Yes.
Interesting.
Then it turns out he gets fired. Like the last little memo is like, we have a new security officer after there were complaints about the previous one. So yeah, then you start up the tram, you hop on the tram, it goes to Nuka World. I'm thinking to myself, why on earth am I doing this? Like the guy out there just told me this was a trap. I guess I'm just doing it because I'm interested.
Yeah, I saw that guy rolling around on the ground, and I was like, take a stim pack. And he was like, no, there's not any time. And I said, something here is fishy as shit. So I went into vats, and I smashed him apart. And he exploded into a million pieces, and then I got the password and then followed him. Mm-hmm. But here, after I smashed him, voiceover in the intercom system. Hey, so you've recognized our clever ruse. Guy starts talking to me. He says, come on in, the water's fine. I got a job for you. So then I went. That's how I got there.
And then I assume we had basically the same classic video game tram ride where you look at an area and receive voiceover exposition.
Yes, except it was extremely short and I couldn't see anything because, number one, the draw distance, despite being set up to as high as possible, the setup of Nuka World is such that it's impossible to see anything in the distance. Everything is like the lowest texture model possible. So that's a little bit weird. The other thing is it was dark. Like, it was midnight. And so in Fallout 4, if it is later than 8 p.m., you can't see anything. You know, it's real Boston times up there. It's Boston winter. And I guess the third thing is that if you were in third-person camera mode, you know, I've told you that several instances of being in third person have felt punitive to me, where it's like, you're not supposed to play the game this way. Why did they allow you to do so, right? That's especially bad in a moving tram, where the camera is constantly clipping into the ceiling and preventing you from seeing anything. So it's very difficult to see anything here and in the next several sections because it was dark as hell. Let me ask you, because we get a little bit of Half-Life here, you know. Hey, here's what you're doing. What is Nuka World?
Well,
Papa, what is Nuka World? Papa, will Nuka World kill me?
I mean, Nuka World is a theme park.
Yeah, but what, you know, it's a combination of some real world stuff.
Well, it's
so what is Nuka World?
Well, okay, so conceptually what's happening here is what if Disney World was built solely around Coca-Cola? And also, what if somehow all of that came together into what feels like an extremely odd riff on New Vegas?
Yes. But and also a bunch of things that were totally incoherent to one another, which perhaps you did not experience, it sounds like,
Maybe.
based on what you've said so far.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
But it's got the Disney World thing of like, there's Cowboy Land, there is Jungle Land, there is the Bottling Factory, which is like Coca-Cola World, right? With a small world ride in it. There is, I'm trying to think of what the other ones are. There's Space World, and there's one other one. It's the first one. Oh, Child's World. That is also one, right? And so they're all like, none of them have jack shit to do with Nuka-Cola.
Right.
So it's like they are trying to do Disney, and they're like, we don't. There's no brands in Fallout, right? They're like, oh no, we only have Vault Tech.
Right.
Could this be Poseidon World? You know what I mean? Like, we will make it Nuka World. Like, it is incoherent as a thing. Like, as far as I could tell, Jungle World has nothing to do with any of the rest of the stuff. It's just an interesting thing to do. So that's why I'm asking, like, what is it is so weird, because it's not World of Coke, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's sort of like, yeah, it's very Disney in that there's all these like distinct lands, because I do get, like, I got some exposition on all this stuff, but like all of them are kind of weirdly, I mean, they're just kind of based off like what might kids in the 1950s think is interesting, right? So hence Cowboy Land, Jungle Land, Space Land. Just kind of like generic, truly, literally generic, right? Genre style skins that are otherwise totally unconnected to like Nuka-Cola as kind of a concept or an idea. You know, I think there was something very funny to me about the fact that the art for this, right, the little like key art that would have come on a box if it were something that was sold physically, and you see this on like billboards around, the like new mascot for Nuka World, it seems like it was just like added or something. It's this woman in a like skin tight spacesuit bearing her midriff. And there's like the billboard that you see at the transit center is like her doing kind of a classic cheesecake shot with like her butt toward the viewer, right?
Yeah, that is. I'm looking at the Nuka World key art. And trying to see.
I just remember thinking this is really interesting because it's kind of like, you know, what if the Coca-Cola polar bears? What if we didn't have those? What if we had like kind of sexy space ladies?
I'm picking up what you're putting down. Some sort of nuclear space lady.
It's like, and that it's like, yeah, that's what kids want from their theme park.
Yeah, it is a little bit. There's a lot of fan art of this lady, by the way.
Oh, I bet.
I was looking to see if she had a name. Nuka Girl, perhaps. It appears that the fan community. I don't know if this is official or not. No. It is. Oh. Nuka Girl was a mascot for the Nuka-Cola Corporation. So much of a mascot that we have never seen her before. Apparently you get some audio of her in Nuka Galaxy in the space world.
I see.
Yeah, interesting. But anyway. But yeah, I also thought, oh, there's an automaton of her. Oh, you want to see something scary?
Yeah, sure.
You want to see the barest midriff on Earth?
That's a spine.
It is a spine. Yeah, look.
Oh, holy shit.
It's like it's like a like an animatronic, and it's just got like two sticks for the waist. Yeah, but it is. You know, it's like good old like 70 or not 70s, but like 50s pinup style stuff. I also don't know why that's the mascot of all things. If this is actually a theme park for children, it would be that big bottle with feet.
Yeah.
It would be like Ronald McDonald.
Right, exactly. They would have like some sort of mascot character, maybe more anthropomorphic or whatever, but like, a cartoon character, which they do have. That's kind of what's odd, is like that very much exists, but is not sort of the key art.
Mm-hmm. You can get her outfit in the game.
Oh boy.
And you can, there's a little model of her for Wasteland Warfare, the mini game, the minis game.
Minis game, okay.
Yeah, there's like it's like you ever wanted to play Warhammer, but with Fallout characters.
Oh, I love it.
That's what she looks like.
Well, okay, that does look like a Warhammer figurine.
It does. Okay, well, how do we? What else do you do after this?
So the train drops you off. The way I think that this is supposed to work is like you can kind of see Nuka World, and the thing is telling you like. This is Fizztop Mountain, which is a giant bottle-looking thing, and you see like kind of the ruins of the park a little bit, and then you like round a bend, and then there's like a tree with a bunch of like corpses hanging from it, and it brings you into Nuka World proper. But before you get there, a guy takes over the intercom, and it's kind of like what was said to you. It's just like, we got a plan. Some dude like talking about nefarious dealings. Okay, whatever. So you hop off the train, and you are welcomed to this thing called the Gauntlet, which, okay, so here's the thing that I put together in pretty short order. A whole bunch of raiders have taken over Nuka World, and they just Mad Maxed it all to hell. Right?
Yeah. It's Thunderdome.
Yes, right. They're putting you through Thunderdome.
Who runs Bartertown?
Overboss.
That's right. Overboss runs Bartertown.
Mm-hmm. Overboss Coulter. So, the Gauntlet is basically a series of rooms that are like filled with a bunch of traps and like like the first one you walk into is like filled with a bunch of turrets, and they killed me very rapidly, so I had to get very good at like crouching and sneaking and like shooting the turrets out so I could get through the room. After this, it gets a lot more fun for me because a lot of the subsequent rooms have like locked doors in them that I don't have like the full lock picking set, meaning my lock picks never break, but I do have like everything up until that. So I'm pretty good at picking locks, and you can just like pick the locks in these rooms and bypass the puzzles. And there's a guy on the like PA system doing like commentary on you. And every time you do it, he gets really pissed off.
Yeah, it does seem like there's quite a bit of adaptive voice line for like what you're doing. Yeah, you can. It seems like you can bypass a lot of the stuff here, but if you can't bypass it, you just have to brute force your way through it by being shot 1 billion times or being exploded many, many times.
Eventually, you end up in a room where you're like trapped with poison gas and a bunch of rad roaches, and I just kept shooting the rad roaches, and I was like, this is probably going to set off whatever gas they're pumping in, and explode it, some sort of environmental effect. It does do that, and weirdly enough, did not really hurt me.
Okay, let me give a full rundown here.
Okay.
This is some of the worst stuff in any Fallout game. I would rather, hex by hex, clear a vault in Fallout 1 than do this ever again. It's terrible. I do not understand what it is in the Bethesda imaginary where they're like, I don't know, we need some content. Let's just put a bunch of shit in the way. Mm-hmm. I think people probably want to pick up a lot of sharp sticks and knives by the blade. Let's do that. Let's just make people do a thing that's unpleasant. Mm-hmm. Like, it is not intellectually or like mechanically fun to you to pick a bunch of locks, right?
No.
It's not interesting for me to walk forward 2 steps, look around, 270 degrees in front of me. Are there any clusters of grenades here? Mm-hmm. Okay. 1 step. Let me peer around the corner. Are there any clusters of grenades here? No. 1 step. Look around the corner. Are there any clusters of grenades? Oh, wait, hold on. This might be a room where there's mines on the ground. Let's do that. So I think It's just abysmal. It to me, this kind of thing is like Minecraft challenge room levels of like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, and like, I understand that's its own genre of game. It's like very fun. You know, that Bet and Brutal and all that kind of stuff just came out. People are really into that. That's totally cool. I would actually rather play that, right?
Yeah.
That's not appropriate. And I don't mean appropriate in the sense of like, you shouldn't do it, finger wag. But like, the Fallout 4's engine does not have the affordances to make that interesting, I guess is what I'm saying. And doing a Raiders Gauntlet is just not, to me, and maybe this also has to do with like having played through all these games. How many times have we done this at this point? Like 2 or 3 times of just like, here's some bullshit to do.
Yeah, no, the bit where I was like in the tunnels, like crouching and slowly walking and finding all the frag mines ahead of me and like slowly disabling them and then walking forward and finding the next frag mine and disabling that. And it was just
right. Like,
fun.
What's the fantasy being sold? I guess, right? Like, not all games are power fantasies, but most games are some sort of ego fantasy, right? You know, that ego shooter is a term I think that the Germans use to talk about first-person shooters, right? I think we've learned about that in Game Study Buddies, right? And that kind of thing is like, well, like all of these games are like ego games, right? They're like, oh, I'm going to build a cool settlement. I'm going to have my big power armor and like smash people apart. And that stuff is fun. Like, I like smashing stuff apart. What is the fantasy being sold of slowly creeping through tunnels, picking up frag mines? Or what I did, which is just walk over them and then have your suit auto heal you. I had a weird thing happen in that tunnel, by the way, where I walked through it and like they all blew up on me and stuff like that. And I just took it and then I got enough DPS by some like random assortment of creatures that it killed me. Game auto loaded. None of the mines were there anymore.
Weird.
I know, it was weird. But I say all of that to say all of these rooms, very strange. But the thing that is quite funny is I got to that room you were talking about. It's full of gas and the gas will explode. And I have a melee weapon, right? That I don't think triggers that stuff. You know, the explode. So I was like, oh, I'll be okay. I'll just kill the rad roaches. It's a perfectly fine little puzzle, right? You got to find... there are 3 wheels to turn the gas off. And you do that, and the announcer's like, that doesn't work. You're going to have to do a different thing. You got to find a key. You got to go in a room. You got to turn this stuff off with like a little TV screen, right? All that stuff happens. Rad roaches come out. Thing full of gas. Curia's with me with her giant laser gun and ignites the room. You know, damaging everyone. Okay, whatever. But it took me long enough to do the thing that happened like 2 more times. Because like Rad Roach spawns, Curie shoots at it, blows everything up. That is, in a nutshell, this whole experience of the Gauntlet for me, which is just like being caught on fire repeatedly by my well-meaning, curious French death machine. But anyway.
Eventually you get out and you get to the end, and there's the guy who keeps like coming in over your comms or whatever is like, all right, like, or you have to talk to him through an intercom or whatever, but he's like, we got to do something. Basically, you're going to be forced into, like, combat to the death with Overboss Coulter. This guy who is talking to you has some sort of plan that he is working against Coulter. He has you go into, like, the room before you get shunted into the combat arena, which is either a former ice rink or a bumper cars arena. I can't particularly tell.
Yeah, I think bumper cars.
Okay. I was thinking it was bumper cars. It looks kind of cool. I wish maybe more things in Fallout in general, or rather in Fallout 4 maybe, like, you know, did something like this, because it's got like all the old like arcade style lighting and stuff, and I don't know, works for the idea of the raiders all crowding in and watching you get killed.
Yeah, great look.
Yeah. So the guy explains, so Overboss Coulter has like a special customized suit of power armor that he runs electricity through as kind of like a shield, right? He's electrified on the outside. And your friend in your ear has stashed away a secret weapon that will help you, and you find it, and it turns out it's a squirt gun. like little, like, looks like a toy ray gun style thing, like a little Nuka World novelty. And
It is the space gun that Nuka Girl has in the key art.
yes, exactly.
But made into his little novelty like souvenir gun.
And he explains that if you shoot Coulter with this, with the squirt gun, you will disable his electric field, and then you can actually hurt him. And so that's what I did, is I went out there and I shot him with a squirt gun until his, like, suit overloaded, and then he has, like, some... it's like a Zelda boss, actually, where he, like, goes, "Whoa, I've been slightly exploded," and then he stands there a little bit. And so then I whipped out my mini nukes and shot him a bunch of times and killed him.
Yep. It's good. It's a fun little fight.
Yeah. And then you can go talk to the guy that you were talking to, who turns out to be a dude named Porter Gage. And he's like, "Great, we killed Overboss Coulter. Like, now come talk with me." And all the raiders are kind of like, "Wow, I can't believe Overboss Coulter, he finally died. Well, whatever." So yeah, Gage tells you, like, come meet me at whatever place. And so you have an option now. You get to go out into Nuka World, and you can either follow along with him immediately, or you can kind of like poke around the immediate area outside and talk to some people and do some stuff. And I did a little bit of this and then went to meet with Porter, and then the rest of my game happened. So what happened with you?
I just went and followed him immediately.
Oh, okay.
I didn't really poke around. I was like, I was on the money, because I was like, look, this is a Disney World.
Right.
They're going to send me to all these places. There's no universe in which the main quest doesn't send me everywhere. So, there's stuff you notice, right? It's really great. I think in a general sense, really great environmental design throughout all of Nuka World.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these lands get, they are having to create... There's two things happening at one time. One is that they want to create kind of pathways of movement that work for gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
And they also want to create paths of movement that work for gameplay that feel like you would be in one of these real places, right? Which are always highly dense and packed or whatever, and yet feel like they're not. It always feels like, you're in its own kind of zone or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That, you can be right beside another lane or another pathway that is one wall over, but the way that they do environmental design in these kind of big Disney-esque places, big theme parks, is to make you feel like you're not there, right? That it's separated. Mm-hmm. But within the game engine, where I can like see in third person what all this stuff looks like, it just looks really, really tightly packed. And there's a lot of use of like invisible walls and like keeping you from jumping over stuff. I still jumped over a lot of stuff, but like at one point in one of the lands, you have to solve a hedge maze, and I just jumped on top of the maze and ran around it. Like I would do in real life.
Yeah, exactly.
But so there's some of that going on, but even within that, I think really kind of beautifully done. I think the environmental artists and the level designers who worked on this did a really great job across the board. And there's a lot of, like, a way more, quote-unquote, environmental storytelling in your walk to Gage than in any of these other DLC and maybe anywhere else in Fallout. Like, the density of, like, you walk a few steps, there are two raiders standing there having a conversation. The raiders are talking about whatever the hell. And they're like, "Hey, did you know there's a new overboss?" "Yeah, well, the overboss doesn't really mean anything." "Huh, that's right." You get some of that. Mm-hmm. You get someone talking to a quote-unquote trader, like Trader, and they're just slaves. Mm-hmm. Like, the word trader is used for people who are enslaved, and they've got the, what do you call them? The Fallout 3, the pit style bomb necklaces on. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the provenance is of those. That seems like a weird concurrent development worldwide. You know what I mean?
The bomb collars.
The bomb collar seems like a weird, it's a Leibniz and a Newton, right? It seems like a weird thing for everyone to invent all at once. But so they've got like a slave society going on. Not a big fan of that. Also, really weirdly doesn't come up in the main quest as far as I could tell. Mm-hmm. There's someone who's like a big Nuka-Cola fan who tries to flag me down to do a side quest. I don't do that. Yeah, I mean, it's big. It's really big as a place. And it's kind of densely packed with people talking and stuff like that. I like that a lot. It feels like Freeside.
Yeah, it really does.
From New Vegas. Big long tube, and then the place where you do questy kind of stuff, and then you leave from there to go do other things. This whole thing has a real, as you said at the beginning, it's got a real New Vegas vibe to it. We can talk about some specifics later.
Yeah. The one person that I ran into that you didn't mention was Nira, who is a giant walking robot soda bottle.
Oh, I did see the big soda bottle.
Okay.
I didn't talk to it, though.
Yeah, she is like a tour guide, and she tells you, like, welcome to Nuka World, here's all the different places, blah, 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 blah. And then she's been, like, hacked. So after every, like, couple of exchanges you have with her, like, her voice kind of fuzzes, and then she's like, listen up, scum, and, like, threatens to kill you. That was interesting. But yeah, other than that, I actually missed the trader conversation, because if I had seen that, things probably would have changed slightly for me. But we'll get there eventually. So, the other thing that's notable is, like, you can notice that there are distinct types of raider. Not just because you look at them and it's like, this person, there's we're going to learn this shortly, but there are like three raider factions in the park. It's like the creepies, the crawlies, and the kooks or something. Actually, it's the operators, the violence lovers,
the pack.
Well,
you're talking about, hold on. God, what are they called?
Disciples.
The Warhams. The Machine Death Cult.
Yeah. It's the disciples, the operators, and the pack, and they all look kind of different. The pack in particular is like, they're all wearing animal masks, and they have like neon face paint, and like have dyed their hair and stuff. So you're like, okay, yeah, and this is what it adds to what you called like the free side effect. Or no, you didn't call it that, but what I'm calling it, right? The sense of when you get to New Vegas, where you're like, okay, this is a place where like multiple like groups of people live and interact with one another.
Yeah, and they're all like caricatures.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, the disciples are literally the leader of the disciples. She wears a mask that has no face holes. She's looking like Elish Norn out there.
Right. Yes.
It's like halfway to Alien, basically. And so there's her, and then the operators.
Mm-hmm.
They are what if Italian gangsters, but also vampires.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They're like. Interview with the Vampire Goths, circa 1991.
Mm-hmm.
And then the pack are embarrassing.
Yes,
is what they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are almost a Rage 2 faction, and then almost a I don't even know. They're like this is what happened. You have to go talk to all of them, to get introduced to them or whatever. I talked to the other two factions, and I got to the pack, and I saw them making a dog and a gorilla fight one another for their pleasure. And I immediately tried to kill the guy who was like running the thing. I was like, I'm not involved. This could be a two-faction town, IMO. And I attacked him, and it hostile to all the factions to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to reload my game. But I don't care for the pack. I don't care for what they're up to everything changed, but not my feeling that you shouldn't make an ape and a dog fight one another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, well, that's a preview of how things go for me. Where I go and I talk to Porter Gage, who's like, come meet me at it's basically like the overboss's quarters, which is back on Fizz Top Mountain that I already mentioned. It's like the restaurant at the top of the giant soda bottle. Again,
I think it's called the Fizz Top Grill.
Yes, right. Again, very New Vegas, right? It's like the highest thing in the local area, and the boss is in the penthouse at the top. And it's like a kind of you can be up there and you can like look out and see the park below you. And Porter explains that the gangs came together, like the Raider gangs came together to like take New Vegas, Jesus, to take Nuka World, and sort
We're
of
gonna take New Vegas.
The idea was to like consolidate the forces and then like take over the entire park. But I guess what happened was Coulter kind of like took the central areas and then was basically fine with it. And so all three factions are like crammed into this small area, and there's all this other like basically real estate within the park that's filled with other people that they like want to take out, and monsters and crap like that. But rather than doing kind of territorial expansion like everyone thought they were going to do, Overboss Coulter, who kind of fell into the leadership position, right? He kind of like united all of the gangs for this endeavor, got like lazy or like was not really interested in expanding. And so he like created the gauntlet essentially as a distraction, right? Something to keep the Raiders kind of happy and keep their bloodlust sated without any of the like conquest or whatever that they thought they signed up for. Right. And this made Porter unhappy. So Porter had you kill Overboss Coulter, and now has like by, as everyone knows, like when you kill someone, you take over their job. And so now you are the overboss. And it I don't know. This just feels so Bethesda to me.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's like you've done 3 missions for the Warriors Guild, and now you're the leader of the Warriors.
Right. So, and I can accuse Porter of like waiting to betray me or whatever, and he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, here's what you need to do. You need to go speak to the leaders of all 3 of the factions and basically like, introduce yourself and make nice, and then go out and we're going to take the rest of Nuka World, and it will be, because you're the overboss, it will be your decision about which faction gets control of which area and blah, 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 blah. And again, thinking of how Bethesda this is, the entire time I'm thinking like, why on earth are you doing this? Like, you are so dead set on the Raider establishment here developing, and yet you don't want to do it. Like, you're just like ceding it all to this person who just showed up. But whatever, I guess I've got to play this game. So I go down and I go to the first, or not really the first. You can do them in any order, but I go to the one that's closest, which turns out to be the Disciples. And he also like explains each one, right? The Disciples are the weird pain fanatics and everything. And I walk into their little hideout, and there's just like, skinned corpses everywhere, like hanging on the walls, turned into horrifying artwork and that sort of thing. Oh, actually, pause. Backing up real quick. Fun little thing that Overboss Coulter did before the fight is I'm still wearing the Silver Shroud costume, and he recognizes it, and he like makes fun of me for it. He's like, "You're wearing the clothes of a hero of a dead world." Bleh. Anyway. Speaking of Heroes of Dead Worlds, I talk with the woman who's the head of the Disciples, and as you said, she's got like this like wild like mask of pain thing that she's wearing. And I'm looking around at all these corpses, and I think to myself, this doesn't make sense for Eleanor. Eleanor doesn't know why she's doing any of this. This is not the sort of thing Eleanor would do. She just like spent however many hours trying to like liberate a bunch of enslaved robots. These are the types of people who might have slaves. At this point, I haven't seen any because as I said, I missed that traitor thing. But I don't know. I'm going to err on the side of caution. So I whip out my railgun and I shoot her in the head.
No.
Yeah. And then this gives me a new quest. It is called Open Season, and the quest's criteria are kill all the Raider leaders and all the Raiders in Nuka World. And so that is what I proceed to do.
So you didn't do any of these quests?
Nope.
That took me hours and hours to do?
Nope.
Where I was up until 2 a.m. last night?
Nope.
Playing these taking back fucking Jungle World from the Croca-Claws.
Yep, I just killed all the Raiders.
What happens when you do that? Well, that's interesting because, like, the outshot of this. Okay, well, what happens?
Mainly, I think I should be wearing power armor for this because I'm dying a lot. But power armor, just say no. I'm not going to do it. So I keep reloading and I keep coming up with ways to, like, hide behind things and shoot people. I'm running through all my ammo. Then I have a great insight. It's the end of the game. I don't have to worry about like balancing the penalties to my stats and everything for addiction. I have a huge stockpile of drugs. So Eleanor is just like taking like mouthfuls of drugs, right? Jet and Psycho and like whatever the one is that raises your damage resistance. And I also by this point have a fully unlocked skill tree for my critical shots, meaning that at any point in time I can have up to 4 critical shots like saved away. I also have Grim Reaper Sprint, which means that every time I kill an enemy in VATS, there is a pretty high chance that all of my AP points regenerate to full. And then I also have a thing that I don't remember, but the joke is about Fighting Irish because it's the Vault Boy and he's dressed like a little leprechaun. And this means that every shot that I make has a substantial chance of just completely filling one of my critical meters. So I am hopped up on drugs and the good word of luck. And I am just like crit hitting my way through all of this park, like just killing everyone. I take out all the raiders. And then I get a new objective, and it's like, go to like the Nuka Town Market and speak with Mackenzie Bridgman. And I'm like, who? So I go to Nuka Town Market. There are some more raiders there, and I have to kill them. But there are people who aren't raiders who are running around. And I haven't really seen any non-raiders up until this point. So I'm like, oh, dang, what the hell's going on? I kill the raiders here. All the people who are not raiders kind of like settle down. And then I go over and I find this woman, Mackenzie Bridgman. And she's wearing that the bomb collar, and I'm like, hot damn, they kept slaves. So it is completely within Eleanor's character to do what I just did. So I talked to Mackenzie Bridgman. I have no idea who she is. I have never spoken to her before or what her situation is. But the first thing Eleanor says to her is like, I've done it. I've killed all the raiders. You're free now. And she's like, thank you so much. And then the quest is over and I leave.
So you didn't have to go... You didn't have to go and fight the magical ghoul in 3 different locations in Kitty Town?
Oh my god, no. I didn't have to do any of that.
You didn't have to clear the exterior and the interior of Nuka World's bottling plant?
Oh my god. So it kind of sounds like maybe...
or help the cowboy robots of Dry Rock Gulch? You have to do that?
It sounds like this is maybe a bit of another challenge dungeon then?
No, it's just like 5 quests to do.
Okay.
In locations that aren't interesting. Hold on, I do want to... I need to figure out... Hold on, Dry Rock Gulch. I'll give you the rundown on all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Basically what you do, here's the actual thing that you do in the game. You go talk to all these different enemies, or factions, all these raiders, and as you point out, they absolutely suck shit, right? Like, I don't need 3 new flavors of Goblin, and I fundamentally don't believe these, like, enemies should be in the world.
Right.
They're bad. They're keeping slaves, they're raiding people, so, like, in my heart of hearts, I would actually destroy them all. Right, like if I were actually playing this game myself. But you said this the other day, where you said, I finished this in about 2 hours. And then I got these quests, and I was like, it's impossible that he actually finished this in 2 hours. So therefore, he must have killed everyone. So I have to do this. I have to, like, I can't do the thing I want to do, which is kill them all. So, I'm up there on the cross, for you, expiating all your sins. And, but so I'll give you the rundown on all of them. So the shtick of the deal is that you clear out each, world. There's 4 worlds and the bottling plant. You clear them out, and there's a little flag when you've cleared them out, and they each have like quests, or you do something different in each to quote unquote clear them out. Each one's a little bit different, and you there's a flag at the end once you've completed the objective, and you can assign it to one of the raiders. One of the, and then they come and move in and like do stuff there, and they like start generating supplies and stuff for you, so you can use this as like a repeatable extraction.
Okay, yeah.
However, I will say this. So my deal was like, all right, I'll just give it to the two factions I like, and then I'll piss the pack people off, and there'll be like a quest at the end to like kill the pack, because like they're pissed off or they'll attack me or something, and I'll be able to kill them. Nope. The once you complete all 5 of these things, as far as I could tell, what's his name? Gage? Mm-hmm. Gage is like, hey, great work doing that. All right, it's over, and I got my achievement, and it was over. And then the thing at the very end that they offer you is, hey, would you like to set some of these raiders up in the Commonwealth to help them raid? And I was like, there is nothing I would want to do less than that. What are you talking about? No. So there might be more of this DLC that I just didn't do, because that seems so outrageous to me as like a thing I might want to do as a like character.
Yeah, I read about this, and like 100%, one of the big ads from this DLC is basically like you get to make settlements that are now raider encampments. Like you can just become like a raider warlord.
I don't want to do that. That's not me.
Mm-hmm.
That's not Tonk. Tonk 4. Maybe Tonk 5, but not Tonk 4. All right, so let me give you the rundown. So there's this is not the order I did them in, but this is the order that Polygon's Fallout 4 Nuka World Guide has them in, that I pulled up so I can remember all the names, and so that's what you're getting. The Nuka World's bottling plant. There is an interior and an exterior. The interior is a small world ride that is done floating on Nuka-Cola Quantum, and it tells you the history of Nuka World, in the history of like Nuka-Cola itself. I was so preoccupied by killing Nuka Quantum infected Mirelurks that I could not hear a single thing that was being said to me on the small world ride, which is like you go around this big loop and it triggers like it would if you were on a boat, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like the pitch. But the sounds of combat are so loud, I just can't tell you what the hell happened. And Curie at some point, which still has this like the railroad rifle and an auto laser thing, she's just obliterating dudes. Like she is a walking tank. She goes off and just starts killing random people on her own, like somewhere else from me inside of here, and I can't find her for a long time. And when she comes back, she brings like 4 assaultrons with her. And so I have to, it's a big fight anyway. And Melee, for whatever reason, has a hard time killing Mirelurk. So this took a long time and is not interesting.
I have one thing that I forgot to tell you about. Talking about Curie doing something weird reminded me of this. Can I interrupt very briefly?
Mm-hmm.
So before I went to Nuka World, and I think I have footage of this in the video that I cut together, I went to Diamond City to like sell a bunch of crap and like buy more ammo, and you basically restock and everything, right? So while I was there, out of nowhere, I just got like a new quest that was like, it was called like a in sheep's clothing or a wolf in sheep's clothing or something, and the objectives were like, 1, stop Mayor McDonough or like confront him, and then the like optional secondary objective was like help someone named like Billy Sullivan or something. And I'm like, okay, so I remember the mayor. I have no idea who this other guy is or where he is. I run up to the mayor's office, right? I like take that elevator up and I pop out, and Piper's there. And she's like, I knew you were a synth. And it turns out she has like the mayor is a synth. He has like barricaded himself inside his office, and Piper is out there like banging on the door, and he's like taken his secretary hostage. And I don't remember her name. I think it's Genevieve. And Piper's like, I knew it. I was telling people the truth that the mayor was a synth. And I have, actually at this point, I think I have Curie with me. No, I think it's Nick Valentine. Yeah, it's Nick. Well, I turn around and I look underneath the secretary's desk, and there's like a button there I'm aware of. And you hit that button and it just opens the mayor's office door. So it swings open, and his secretary is there. She's like on her knees with her hands up. And the mayor has a gun, and he's like, if you come any closer, I'm gonna shoot her. So, whatever. I whip out my gun and I shoot him in the head until he's dead. He explodes. I think that's, fine. Eventually I check his corpse and, there's a synth component in there, whatever. But Piper and Nick then whip out their guns and they start shooting the secretary and they kill her.
What? Why?
I don't know. I checked her, no synth component. She was being held hostage, but I killed the mayor, and so they killed they killed Genevieve, and that's
They're
it.
like administrative assistants for the mayor or mayorkin.
Yeah.
They've got mayor blood.
So I don't know. Like that was just a weird thing that activated and closed off a plot line from way back at the beginning of the game that I had honestly forgotten about, which was Piper thought that the mayor was a synth. So anyway, yes, back to Nuka World.
Well, Kiri's a death machine. Mm-hmm. Never going to get a human body with that kind of body count. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you want to become a human, and you got an orbital mounted gun array? No way. It is very funny that she is constantly being like, I get this. I don't know if I've heard this bark before, but I only started noticing it for Nuka World, where she's like, get in combat or whatever, and a bunch of enemies are dead, and she says, "Oh, so now we back up the evidence, huh? For the investigation?" And it's like, oof, Kiri, you little goof. But yeah, so interior, you cleared out, small world stuff, kill a bunch of these enemies. You go to the exterior, there's a bunch of Mirelurk Kings and Mirelurk Queens. Have you seen a Mirelurk King yet?
Yeah, actually. Aren't they like big, like crawdad looking dudes or something?
No, that's a Mirelurk Hunter.
Okay.
The Mirelurk Kings are like little bitty dudes.
Oh, wait.
They're like little bitty, they kind of look like, what's the World of Warcraft, like, wow, what's that thing?
Oh, heck, what were those things called?
Let's see, World of Warcraft.
I remember them.
Little, water creature makes noise. Murlocs. It worked. That worked perfectly, by the way. Yeah. So they kind of look like those. And so there's a fun, like, as happens in some species, right? The Mirelurk Queen is like massive and huge and powerful, and the Mirelurk King is like a little bitty goblin guy. Mm-hmm. That's fun. So you got to kill a bunch of those. They're shooting Nuka-Cola at you. And then there's a Mirelurk Queen. You got to go down there and kill her. The end. Done. Not complicated. Safari Adventure. You go to Safari Adventure, and it is full of things called like Nuka-Dials or something like that. Or not Nuka-Dials. Croc-a-Claws. I don't know. It's something like that.
Death Crocs?
Pull it up. Death Crocs, maybe. They are death claws they look like Killer Croc from Batman.
Oh. It looks like it's Gator Claw.
Gator Claw, sure. Anyway, you fight them. Mm-hmm. They're cool. They're very good. My melee ability is such at this point that every time I hit any big enemy, they stun. And so I can hit them and just like kind of hold the button down, and Kiri will laser them to death, like while they're stunned. So that not too complicated to kill, but you do it, and wouldn't you know it, there is a straight up Tarzan here. He's a big buff dude. He's got his own super sledge. He speaks in broken English, and he was raised by gorillas, and he just wants his he wants the Safari Adventure to be safe for his people. It is straight up. It's bad. I can't believe no one thought harder about this. There's also this additional thing where he literally says, you could be like, why do you talk like that? Because it's very much like the Tarzan thing of like, I forget what his name is, but he's like, me am safe, that kind of thing.
Right.
And you can be like, hey, why do you talk about it like that? Why do you talk like a 1950s cartoon of a caveman? And he literally says, he's like, well, my family doesn't speak English, essentially. He's like, they don't speak, and I don't talk to people very often. That's explicitly what he says, right? He's like, I'm just not so basically he's saying, this is my second language. I don't speak it very often. And yet you can talk to him as if he is a child. Like the game's dialogue options elide the like, English is not my first language with this person has the mentality of a child. You know what I mean? Like, it's that double maneuver going on.
Yeah.
No good. Almost embarrassing to play, just to be honest with you. But he's like, hey, there's all these, what'd you call them? Crococlaws?
Gator claws.
Gator claws. There's all these gator claws. What's up? And it's actually a pretty cool little quest. You find out that it's basically Jurassic Park. So underneath Safari Adventure, because a question you might have is, why are there Deathclaw gator hybrids in Safari Adventure? That might be a question that you have. Well, they are being gene sequenced automatically. And there are these scientists from before the war and then after the war who were ghoulified, I believe. So that they've been living. I didn't find any of them. But they are there, and they were running Safari Adventure, and you get all these hints that there was this Vault Tech thing going on as well, where Vault Tech was paying them to do this kind of gene sequencing stuff, and so it's truly a secret facility underneath that is military funded. And so they're like gene sequencers or whatever, and you read these notes that are like, hey, hate to... got hammered last night, got too drunk last night, woke up, realized I was creating a giant bug with 16 giraffe legs and 4 eyeballs while I was blackout drunk. Not cool. Got to not do that again. So, these guys are getting a little bit loosey-goosey with the gene sequencer down there. And at some point, they put in the crococlaw, and it's just on all the time. So it's just this gene splicer replicator thing underneath Safari Adventure is just pooping out these things constantly. And the reason it is doing that is because, I forget what the acronym is, but there's basically a anti-gene sequencing, anti-Safari Adventure activist group. It's a 4-letter acronym. It's like PETA, right? But it's some other thing. And they kidnap the scientists. So that's part of what happened, is that while they were doing gene sequencing or whatever, they were literally attacked by these animal rights advocates. And wouldn't you know it, that created the bad thing.
Oh, wow.
I know. So who could know who was right?
It turns out when you agitate for animal rights, you just actually make bigger and worse animals.
That's right. That's exactly how. So that's Safari Adventure. Huge bummer around this one is that you can clear out these enemies, all these dangerous monsters, and you can say, hey, guy who lives with the apes, it's safe for you with the apes now. But you can't give him Safari Adventure. You can't be like, hey, you and your family of really weirdly animated apes. You can't be like, hey, you live here now. This is yours. You have the best option. You can say, hey, you can leave. You got to get the hell out of here. You can be like, later, I don't have to worry about this anymore. Or you can say, hey, can you share this with my new friends? Please keep in your mind that the friends are mystical death cult, vampire cap lovers, people who make animals fight for fun. And so that was truly terrible, and I had to give it to one, so I gave it to the cap lovers. At the end of the day, I think capitalism probably is the best option here. Between death worship and making everyone fight to the death.
Right, between that and the people who just explicitly kill animals.
Yes. I thought, well, maybe the people who just want to up the price on all the vending machines, maybe they're the best of this option. I did Galactic Zone. I had a similar feeling that you did in this, where I was like, this is our last episode of Fallout 4. So it doesn't matter what I do. And I say that because you get to Galactic Zone, and the mission of Galactic Zone is not linear. It's basically, there's 3 areas of the Galactic Zone, 3 little, interior zones. You need 20 collectibles.
Oh my god!
It's the panel. They're cores. I think they're called.
Okay.
You need 20 of those to start up Galactic Zone again and make it operable, so that you can hand it off to one of these raider groups. You need to go through these little 3 mini dungeons to just find as many of those as you can. If you get 20, that's enough to do it. If you get 30, you've like really completed it, and it looks like you get some power armor. I was overwhelmed with ennui at the experience of this. I was looking down the barrel, you know what I mean, of my own existence and thinking about me, aged 244 years old. You know what I mean? Surrounded by all of my progeny and closest friends. You know, it's kind of, and my intergalactic corn. It's basically, I was imagining, what if I were the old lady from the end of Interstellar?
Yes.
You know? And then I have to remember that I spent an hour and a half going through Fallout 4 dungeons looking for doodads. And so I used console commands to spawn 20 of these doodads and did not do. Now, let me tell you, Galactic Zone is actually very cool. And if this were not the quest for Galactic Zone, I would have done it. Because Galactic Zone is very cool. It is kind of a Vault-Tec show chamber. It's a little bit like like Epcot style.
Oh, okay.
You know, like what are people going to do in the future, that kind of thing. One of them is space vaults. So basically, Vault-Tec is pitching, what if we just took the vault and shot it into space? Wouldn't that be cool? And so, like, there's cool stuff. There are a bunch of unique robot enemies that are kind of from the Automatron DLC, and there's like new Automatron parts you can pick up here. They are all like Nuka Cola flavored attack robots, which is fun. Like, one sprays you, it looks like, with Nuka Cola. At some point you can hear one of the raiders in the, like, closer to the free side part. One of the raiders is like, "Oh my God, people would come here and get sprayed with soda. What was wrong with these people?" And like that's what, so you get to see some of that. It's actually, like I said, really great environmental design, really great kind of like environmental narrative work here. But good God, the very idea of doing that just you know, made me feel like turning the game off. And so I just console spawned a bunch of those and left. Gave it to somebody. So I've done Bottling Plant, I've done Safari Adventure, I've done Galactic Zone, Kitty Kingdom. It's like Little Kids World. This is where the iconography of like the bottle with a face on it, you know, kind of McDonald Land kind of vibe to it. It is populated. It is run by a ghoul who wears a top hat and has magical powers.
Okay. We're talking in-universe magical powers?
That's what he claims, and they do appear to be magical powers. He has Nightcrawler's Bamf ability. It even makes that noise. It makes the noise from X-Men 2, specifically the film. That like the like air compressing together crunch noise. It makes that exact sound. And he can teleport around and do that. He can also apparently heal people. And I read a bunch of different little logs where basically he's like, you know, when the bombs fell, all these people like hung out together and they cloistered in Kitty Kingdom. Lo and behold, they all got ghoulified. Lo and behold, after enough time, they started experiencing the affliction, which is like becoming feral ghouls. And only a few of them didn't anymore. And basically what they did with the ghouls is they like locked them up. They didn't kill anybody. Eventually, they were looking for a cure to it. And I forget what his name's like Oswald or something like that. And his name's actually, I think, Oswald Oppenheimer. Which you find that out by reading some of these logs. And he's got a friend named Rachel, and she leaves because she wants to find like a cure, or she wants to like find other people because they see the raiders coming into Nuka World, and she never comes back. I bet you could go and find her. That would be my like belief. I didn't do that though. I hunted him down. You gotta go to when you come into Kitty Kingdom, you get this audio thing where he's like, "Maybe you can find me at the theater, or the Hall of Mirrors, or a third place I've forgotten. Good luck!" And you got to go to all three of those places. Oh, the tunnels underneath the thing. And he has the ghouls that you fight here. It's all ghouls you fight. They're painted ghouls. He has like painted them fun colors. They're like, you know, bright blues and reds and stuff like that. And he's training them. He talks to them as if they're like, you know, not feral. And he's training them, and so you get to see him doing that a few different times. You fight him twice. Eventually, you chase him up to a rooftop of the castle itself. I fought him there, and he basically the gimmick of the fight is he keeps summoning waves of ghouls, and you have to kill him like 4 times because he can self heal. But yeah, he straight up does that. He drops a top hat that increases your movement speed by 10%.
Oh, cool.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a good hat. So that's that. Skitty Kingdom, I gave that to somebody too. And Dry Rock Gulch, which is, hey, do you remember that, what was that sheriff's name? The robot sheriff?
Prim Slim.
Prim Slim. You like that guy?
Yeah.
Do you ever want to do a whole little quest that's just more of that little guy?
In theory, I'm not opposed to it, but I could see how that could be annoying.
So Dry Rock Gulch is that, and it is full of things called bloodworms as well. Have we encountered bloodworms anywhere else?
I have not encountered any bloodworms. That sounds pretty cool.
They're worms that just shoot out of the ground and attack you. And they, animate very weirdly. But that's what they are. And so he's like, I need to tell you where. Mad Mulligan's mine. So basically you go in and it's like a sheriff. Sheriff Hawk. They're Sheriffs Hawk and Eagle.
Okay.
And they're like the greeters for Dry Gulch. Again, I have no idea what Dry Gulch has to do with it. Maybe this was explained to me in the Nuka Cola World Bottling Factory, right? Where it's like maybe they're from Dry Gulch or something. I don't know. But you go in, and Sheriff's Hawk and Eagle, depending on the entrance you come in, they're like, howdy, partner. Would you like to help us fight Mad Mulligan? It's like a totally different voice. And basically what happens is like there are raiders or, outlaws in Mad Mulligan's mine is how they say it. Mm-hmm. And you have to like do a little quest. It's very much like, theme park design. You got to go around and talk to all the little other, entities to get all the little pieces to like go and ride the roller coaster is the pitch. And it is really fun because for all of the dialogue options, there's a play along dialogue option. And it's like talking like a cowboy to the robots, and they love it. Like the robots, they like really get into it. It's clear there's a difference in the voice lines because if you're like really serious with them and you're like, this place is a ruin. They're like, we will let HR know. We will let park services know. They clearly are reacting. But if you talk like a cowboy to them, they like have a good time. So you like do 3 little quests. One's like you gotta like it's like a shepherd, like a little cowboy with some horses. His horses got out of the stable, so you got to go get one of those like little plastic horses out of the trash, and you got to drop it in his corral. And he's like, "Whoa, yeehaw!" And there is a blacksmith shop. Oh, and you got to beat him in a quick draw contest, and he gives you a gun, and you got to do it through vats. You got to do quick draw with vats. Mm-hmm. Which is very fun. I shot him too many times, and then he went hostile, so Curie obliterated him. And then you got to deliver drinks all around town for one guy. You go you get a passcode, you go into the mine. Lo and behold, there's the Bloodworm Queen in there. Uh-huh. It's a really cool designed mine, too. Like, because it's a roller coaster, and you're just walking along the track. And then you leave. But that's probably the best one in terms of, like, just fun. Mm-hmm. Is that it? That's all of them. That's all the things. So all of those took 45 minutes minimum.
Okay. Damn.
Yeah. And I did not complete them. They all have like some additional stuff you can do in them. I just did the bare minimum. Then I went back and I thought, all right, this is going to be like the 3-way battle. You know what I mean? Or something for like supremacy of Nuka World. I got to like make some faction alignments or whatever. And I out of the 5, I basically split them between the 2 factions I liked and didn't give any to the pack. Went and talked to old Cage or Gage, whatever his name is, and he said, "Great, you've completed the Nuka World DLC. Congratulations." I got an achievement. And he said, "Hey, do you want to go set up some raider encampments?" And I said, "No, I don't." And that was it. That was perhaps the least exciting ending to anything.
That's so weird that there's not like more of a consequence for how you split those things up.
As far as I can tell, nothing. I imagine it changes because you can go back to them after you've done it and like a little time has passed. Mm-hmm. You can go back to them and get your reward, and I imagine that's what changes.
I see.
But Other than that, no idea.
Weird.
Mad Mulligan's mine.
Well, that was Nuka World.
It's apparently in Massachusetts.
Yeah, evidently, right? It's like in Western Massachusetts.
It doesn't look that way.
No, it doesn't.
It looks like it's in Arkansas. Mm-hmm. Or Ohio.
Yeah. No, it is. If it were in Western Massachusetts, it would be like, I guess, in the Berkshires or something. It doesn't seem to correspond to anything real, but it kind of really feels like they just wanted to do Nuka World, and so they're like, yeah, why not put it west of Boston?
You know, why not? Why not put it west of Boston? No one knows what's over there.
Mm-hmm. Right. The mysterious enclaves of Northampton.
That's right. Well, how do you feel about Fallout 4?
There were highs and there were lows. Probably not necessarily more lows than highs. There were probably a lot more midpoints than lows or highs in either direction, I would say. There was a lot of interesting stuff that I found in this game, and then, as I've said repeatedly throughout multiple episodes, there are large elements of this game that suggest that the future of Fallout is becoming a sort of experience that I am not particularly interested in, which isn't to say that, like, it's bad, Fallout's bad now, how could you like Fallout, it used to be so much better, but more just like, yeah, there were things actually that I prioritized in the Fallout experience. If Bethesda continues to shuffle those out, I just don't play these games anymore, unless the show is tied around my neck like an albatross.
Yeah, I just I do have a better appreciation. We'll talk about this in our next episode.
Mm-hmm.
I have a better appreciation now for the people who are like, it ain't what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because it ain't what it used to be.
No.
My feeling of it ain't what it used to be feels very different from the other narratives I see of that,
Mm-hmm.
which is like, for me, it ain't what it used to be in terms of content. It's actually pretty, like, I could imagine any one of these Nuka World things happening in a Fallout 1 or 2, actually.
Yeah.
Like, just in bare bones terms, those things could occur. But it's mostly just like, we were talking earlier about like the ego fantasy, the power fantasy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Fallout 4 is just so more than any other game. You know, really the leap between Fallout 2 and Fallout 4 is as stark as the leap between Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. You know, it doesn't look that way, but I think it does feel that way. In terms of like, it's kind of hard to die. Everything is built around like having fun and like doing like cool stuff and manipulating the world, going and picking garbage up and turning it into settlements and defending things and being like a cool hero in the world. You become the boss of Nuka World by doing the entry quest, right? Like everything is just so bent around player pleasure in a way that like I found big chunks of Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 very frustrating, right? Like on the record, right? In fact, difficult to complete those games in some ways because of the shape of the show, right? Where it was like, I want to play one particular way, and that's actually kind of hard. I would need to put like another dozen hours into it in order to like get the outcome I want because of the way these systems are shaped.
Mm-hmm.
But that is in some ways like, if I have to choose between that, like a really rough friction, but within a system that's really interesting, I think I would choose that over like the smoothness of Fallout 4.
Right. Well, yeah, it's like the games have kind of like a rhetorical stance, and the rhetorical stance from Bethesda is almost always just like, come have fun with me, which is fine. Like that's, you know, I mean, these are video games,
I
right?
like having fun. Yeah.
Right?
Right. Yeah. I have no like conceptual problem with that.
Right. But there is something about like in Fallout 1 and 2, and like I think 2 especially is kind of the high watermark for this, and it carries on a little bit in New Vegas, of just like, the systems are being used to like create a world that has something to offer you other than like come have fun with me, right? Like there are statements made of like, no, you specialized in these skills, which means that you do not have these skills that would allow you to do this other thing. There is something about the exclusive options there, the ways that you can build characters and the ways that those characters interact, or like the way the systems of the games make palpable, right? Some experience of the game world. It's just, it feels more varied. So, yeah, again, like, I think it, for both of us, it's very different from it ain't what it used to be. And at the same time, there is something, a little sad about it not being what it used to be, because it does show kind of the changing in priorities and sort of, Fallout at one point seemed like it was a series that kind of would surprise you with something like hard hitting, like, by the way, here's our like secret government of eugenicists who are quoting Dan Quayle or whatever, right? Right. And that edge wears away.
It does. Well, speaking of the edge, we're gonna have one big omnibus episode of Fallout 76, and that will be, until a new Fallout game comes out, the last episode of Too Much Future. We've caught up. We've minimized the future.
Finally.
I think we're gonna do this. We're probably gonna put 10 to 15 hours in each.
I think
Fallout
so.
76?
I think so. I've like tried to figure out how that game works now, because it's so different from what it was at launch. There are like 3 or 4 expansions. I don't know exactly how you slot into things, but
it's unclear of like when you buy Fallout 76, it's unclear what you're buying. Like, we're at that level of like, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of work to figure out like what the hell this is. But I think we should do this. In terms of footage, I'm not recording 15 hours of footage. That's just like where it's at, right? But I think we should do this. We should get together and we'll play the first like 2 hours together.
Right.
In multiplayer. And we'll see what that's like. And then we'll go off and play our own, and then we'll come back and we'll record the episode.
Can we do that? Is there an option between multiplayer and single player within like the same like character or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I played it. Yeah. But, yes. As far as I know, yes. We might have to pay the subscription fee. But we'll pay $10. I'll figure this out.
Right.
But yes, I've done it before. When the game came out, I like played the first hour with someone else.
Okay.
Like, you gotta like get out of the vault or something. You know what I mean? But like pretty quickly after that, you can play with other people. So we'll figure that out. I'll figure out exactly what we have to buy, and we'll be back not in 2 weeks, probably in a month. Give us a little while to do this, to play with it. Normally we would take quite a while between seasons, but I think this is a fairly low lift. So we'll play with some of the stuff, and we'll come back. And I'm excited to give it a shot. Like I said, I've played Fallout 76 before, and it was in the very beginning of the game, and it was wild. You know what I mean? It was just like such an interesting and strange experience. Totally unlike anything else, and it kind of like didn't work. There was a lot of rubber banding and stuff.
Interesting.
Playing on the Xbox.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But we'll be back soon, and in maybe a month from now, and that'll be the end of Too Much Future.
All right. Well, until then, war never changes, but Fallout sure does.
Everything changed.